Hey everybody, welcome to Surface Level, curious conversations about the Black and queer experience. I'm one of your hosts, Tony, and today, Jordan, Damon, and I are discussing how criticism or backlash can lead to deeper conversations.
There are people that don't know who they are if they are not fighting. Mm-hmm. So if they're looking for a fight, it's up to you if you want to give them that.
We should live in a world where you don't just do and say whatever you want to just because you can.
That's the quote of the day. I got put into, oh, you're a tomboy. Yeah. You're a stud.
As if that's a bad thing, right?
You know, who told us what masculine and feminine was, and why did they tell us that?
You want to run your mouth. Sometimes people going to have something to say about it and be ready for that. Like, if you're going to say something, say it with your chest. And sometimes it's going to go well, and sometimes it's not. And say it to my face. Motherfucking face.
This is Girl, You Tried It. I love that, because Girl, You Tried It.
It means something.
It means so much, and it really is a universal thing you can say across the board.
I say that at work,
whether it's good or bad, because it could be something good. You have a cute outfit on, girl, you tried that, yes. Or it could be like, girl, you tried it, and I'm upset.
Right. If I look at your outfit and tell you tried it, it's good.
Never good.
I'm just for me myself.
For you yourself. All right. Well, we're gonna have a wonderful conversation today. I'm really excited about, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests to bring them into the fold. So today's guest is an Emmy-winning writer, producer, and actor known for breaking barriers in Hollywood. As the creator of The Chi and 20s, and a producer on films like Queen and Slim and Kokomo City, she has consistently used her platform to tell authentic, powerful stories that center on Black and LGBTQ plus experiences. Beyond her on-screen work, she's also launched Hillman Grad, an organization focused on amplifying underrepresented voices in entertainment. We affectionately refer to her as Big Sis, and you all know her as Lena Waithe. And today we're excited to officially welcome her, Lena Waithe, to our Surface Level family.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Finally.
Same.
We had to.
Took me a beat, but.
Yeah, we had to do a little kidnapping. And
Listen, you got a lot going on.
Yeah. No, y'all had to, earn it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that's a nugget for just across the board is earn it. Make people earn your time and attention and company. So just to level set a bit here, season 10 of Surface Level is called Girl Grow Up, where we're revisiting topics from our first season to see how much we've grown. So in season 1, we had an episode called Last Scene and Last Season, where we talked about the space we give or don't give to artists to be flawed before canceling them. So today, we're going to take that conversation further by discussing if criticism is necessarily always a bad thing. But before we go deeper, let's start on the surface level with an icebreaker that I'm going to call Direct This Scene. So I'm going to give a few fun scenarios, and like any great producer or director, you're going to have to think quick on your feet and make quick decisions. So let's see how you take the lead and shape your own narrative. The first one, late night writing session or early morning workout. Which one gets your creative juices flowing? Who wants to start?
Early morning
Jordan?
workout.
Early morning workout.
Yeah, my brain is not great at night.
Okay.
That's when I'm just trying to like rush and get something done because something's due in the morning. But I can wake up as early as like 5 a.m. and start getting productive.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. How about you, Damon?
I'm like a midday girly, so neither one of these is very helpful to me.
No?
I'm 11 a.m. to 3, boy, I'm on fire.
So I would call that leaning morning skewing adjacent.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sun needs to be high in the sky.
Yeah. I mean, it could be high in your apartment as long as you got a bright light on.
Ooh, but I'm not a morning person. See, I don't like this game. Y'all need to start talking to me about these games.
It is what it is. Lena, how about you? For your late night writing session or early morning workout, which one gets your creative juices flowing the most?
I mean, I'm more of if it's early morning, it's meditation. So that's first. So as of late, but late night is it feels kind of cliche, but yeah, like I'm an evening person for sure, and I think that's sort of when the world gets quieter, so I can hear better.
Yeah. For me, what I found as of late is that if I work out in the morning, the rest of my day is set up much better because I've gotten the body moving and it allows me to be productive out the gate. I can do late night creative because sometimes that's just when like things pop, and if you're drinking some wine or something, like you can get into a flow. But for me, lately I've been enjoying the early morning workout to get me going. Next one. You have a free day with no meetings or deadlines. Do you binge watch a new show or dive into a book or podcast? So no meetings, no deadlines. Which are you doing, Damon?
Let's say book or podcast, only because like it's something I can do outside. Like I would probably go like sit in the park.
That's not an option.
And listen to the book or read the book.
Either
you're not listening
so far. He's like, I don't do morning or night.
No. You're not listening.
I'm listening, but I'm going to the options.
What I said.
Options, because I want to pick that.
What I was saying is that I can take the book or the podcast to the park, whereas I can't really do that with TV. Like I'm not one of those people that can watch a show on their phone. That's sad. So I'm gonna go to the park for the vibes, and then I'm gonna, I guess, listen to a podcast.
Yes. How about you, Jordan?
Read a book.
What about you?
I'm watching TV because all of my podcasts and books are like business and self-help.
Girl, you gotta get some new books and podcasts.
I'm not listening to fantasy. I'm literally listening to like how to have radically honest conversations about feedback in the workplace. Like that's my podcast that I'm listening to.
Got you.
And so if I'm trying to break away from work, like I want to watch TV. I want to be immersed in somebody else's drama.
Yeah, I tend to go along with that. I love me a good podcast. A lot of them that I listen to are more informative, or some are entertainment, but it's like edutainment, kind of like what we do here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my free time in that way and no meetings, I would love to take that time to like catch up on so much TV content that I feel like I've let fall by the wayside. Yeah. So how about you, Lena?
It's so crazy as a person who makes their living by producing television. I also enjoy watching TV. I'm not that person that's like, because I have to do a TV show, I don't like watching. I watch a lot of stuff. But again, as of late, I think, I am just trying to read more books, and the one that I'm tackling, and I will say that because it is thick, is Barbara Streisand's memoir.
It's very big.
It's
it's big, huh?
We have it at the house.
Over 1,000.
I have not opened it.
Wow.
And I'm like at 600. So it's like I've come very far. Still got some reading to do. So I think to me it's nice because it kind of forces me to escape into another world, someone else's world. And I think it's just good for me as a writer to see words on a page that I didn't write.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do two more. Imagine you're hosting a dinner for your childhood heroes. What's on the menu and who gets the first invite?
Do they have to be, like, when you say childhood heroes, do they have to be people in our life? No.
No.
Or
childhood heroes is a broad
term.
Whoever was your hero.
And what would I have on the menu?
Yeah, what would you have on the menu? And who would get the first invite?
So we would definitely have crab legs. It would be like a crab boil for sure. But also other things too, if that's not what they get into, because I understand that some people don't really like crab legs. I
who wants to come up and be wrestling with crab legs?
Somebody who enjoys good food.
I love crab legs,
worth
but like
the wrestle. Okay,
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. And the place I go to,
that's the part of it. It's
they
ritualistic.
I can't imagine being like, do I come to dinner and I get to your house and
I'm gonna
there's
have a
crab
bowl
legs?
of
I mean, we're
butter.
so on the opposite side of this, because if someone says, "Do you want to come over and have crab legs?" I'm like, "How far are you? When are they ready?"
It can't be a surprise.
What's
I
happening?
feel like
I would love a surprise.
This sounds like
if somebody came in with a tray right now, I'd be like,
I don't know. It kind of feels like I'm going to an industry event and then it's crab legs.
Let's find some newspaper.
Are you kidding me? We're gonna have a whole conversation. What?
What if I wear the wrong thing? Now I don't have a crab leg outfit on,
hopefully
and I'm
you're
stressed
careful. I'm a
out.
pro.
Hopefully,
Now I'm shirtless at this group dinner.
Look, I mean, shirtless eating crab sounds like
Bonding.
an amazing
Sounds like bonding.
memory.
Exactly.
Well, Jordan, who's the first invite?
The first invite of a childhood hero. Childhood hero?
This is such a specific.
I know. I'm trying to think of like who
Who-
really.
Who did you admire growing up?
Who did I admire growing up?
I mean, unless you had no childhood
this is a three-parter. It's a childhood heroes you got to think about.
Yeah.
Then you getting us thinking about the menu. We don't even know what they eat. No, it's not it. There's a third part of this question. Who gets invited first?
right.
Who gets invited
the very
first?
first.
Let's just say
one.
the childhood hero gets invited first. We got to edit this down.
Is so big.
Tony gonna
We
have us
got
here all night.
All of us that got to do it.
I'm not gonna have, y'all are going to have yourselves here all night because you can't come to a conclusion on what you would have on the
I'm about
menu
to executive produce
and
and
who
say,
you would
go
invite.
to the next one.
You can't think. Okay, so for
No,
me,
it's too big. It's too big.
It's not.
It's a three-part.
don't make it bigger than what it is, and then we're gonna get to that later.
The reason why he's struggling with hero is because in society, hero oftentimes means a famous person. That's why I think he wanted to differentiate. He was like, childhood hero could mean your gay uncle, or is it like
Right, so-
a celebrity? And so it's like,
Pick
if you
your-
say
pick your
hero
poison.
though, like I don't. What if you say, oh, I'm gonna invite Debbie Allen and I want crab legs? What if Debbie Allen is allergic to shellfish?
But see, we're not thinking that far.
And now you done put our fellow Howard alumnus
And it's like-
in the grave because
and
she
it's
allergic to
like,
shellfish.
and if I got Debbie
All right, well-
Allen and Felicia Rashad, who I invite first?
Now Felicia
am
Rashad
I-
mad at
invite
am I-
Felicia
am I
Rashad to
shading
your crab
Felicia
bowl?
Rashad for getting invited second? You see what I'm saying? So I think,
well, no, we can go there. 'Cause I'm that girl. I can give you a whole narrative, but
Okay. I think I have one now. Now that I've had some time to think about it, childhood hero, probably LaToya Luckett.
okay.
that's so funny because I was like, "Is you going Jackson?"
No, I'm going to go LaToya Luckett because she was my favorite member in Destiny's
I
Child.
love LaToya Luckett.
And I was heartbroken when I heard on the radio that they broke up. And I was so happy when she came out with Torn and saw how big that it went. And she was a hero in the sense of, if you have a situation that happens in your life that really shakes things up and mixes things up, like, don't give up. Like, keep going. And she saw the reward. And I thought that it was an amazing demonstration of resilience.
Okay.
Shout out to LaToya Luckett. That's amazing.
I had a Yahoo fan club group that I hosted for
Oh my
LaToya
goodness.
Luckett when
I
I was
thought you
in
were
high
gonna say
school.
fantasy.
Now, I don't learn new
No,
things
fan club.
about these two often because we've known each other for so long. I just learned something
And
new
all the
about you.
people that
bitch.
was in the group, I would put their name in the hat and I would pull out the member of the month. Post photos of LaToya Luckett. Yeah.
Well, that explains a lot.
Love that.
So for me, I'm going to make it mine just very easy and say that I'm going to
was
have. I'm going to make it very easy. My
keep it
childhood
simple.
hero of this moment is going to just simply be Oprah Winfrey. She's getting that first invitation, and we're going to have something savory, something along the lines of soul food,
Catfish.
in that way, because that's what I want, like real savory food and amazing, wonderful conversation. I'm going to go to something that's a little bit more.
He said, "No more answers."
more demand speed.
skipping.
More demand speed.
Nah, I
Let's
get it.
Would you rather have? And this is too easy for you. I was gonna ask, would you rather have the perfect outfit for every occasion or the perfect playlist for every moment? However, I'm gonna ask this last
really
one.
hard.
You're starring in a movie of your life,
Okay.
but you have to pick the genre: comedy, drama, or action adventure. What's your genre?
All of the above.
Which is going to be the marquee genre? If it's going to be all of the above, which is the one that is going to be dialed up the most within
It depends on which chapter.
the movie of your life? Okay, let's start with chapter 2.5.
It's all of it. It's all of it. It's all of it. It's all of it. It's literally like Inside Out 2. It's all of it.
Inside Out 2, okay.
No, I'm just saying, like what genre? Like, please, that's like life movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I would probably say, I think I would want my life story to be a comedy. It was probably more dramatic in real life, but I think that if I was in control of like the genre, I would pick comedy. Mm-hmm. So that I can have some better memories about it.
He said, I want to laugh to keep from crying.
Exactly.
Damon, what about you?
I'm somewhere between a drama and an action movie.
Oh my goodness.
I think drama for me probably feels more natural because, like, I don't know. I really like documentaries. Like, I was hoping that was an option, but
You always want the option. It's not available.
I never like
What's
options.
your sign?
I'm a Sag.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say bring the drama. You know, bring
it.
Bring the drama. Yeah, because like life ain't been no crystal stair. So bring that drama and show the real. And lastly, for you, Lena, this is something we ask all of our guests. Now, don't give me Thoreau. Don't give me what you're gonna give me. What are you curious about?
Curious.
And this could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, like, that could be applied to a lot of stuff. I think I'm curious to see how this next generation of, I'm saying babies because a lot of my friends have babies that I can go and, like, when I go visit friends, like Melina Matsukas has a baby. There's a baby over there now. When I go over there, and my homies Crystal and Keish, there's a baby over there. When I go back home to LA, you know, when I go back to Ashley Blaine Featherston's house, there's a baby. You know, so I look forward to seeing how these babies, Christina Elmore just had, it's like how the young people they'll become when they're 20.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, God willing, I'll be able to still, you know, be kicking it with them and talking to them. I'm curious to see how they do things differently. Mm-hmm. Because they will have been raised by, well, one, people I love and I'm very tight with, but they've been raised by people that are different from the people that raised us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think society is going to be a reflection of them. And so I'm just really curious to see how that all turns out.
Yeah. That's an answer that I'm intrigued by because with the world the way it is present day, it's like I don't envy anyone that is a newborn or
just getting started.
Just getting started. They've got, you know, they're gonna be all right. But there's a lot ahead of both them and us. So let's get into our conversation, and we wanted to start with something that was just a little bit more personal, but in a way that just allows us to think and pose this question to ourselves and to our listeners. And we wanted to start with talking about how society has a way of putting people in boxes and based on what is perceived norms. And so in each of our eyes, what does it actually mean to be masculine to you? Who wants to start?
I could start. I'm probably going to reinforce the setup of the question, but I feel like my understanding or the way that I think about the term masculine is pretty in alignment with what the widely accepted, you know, understanding of it is. I look at a lot of physical markers. So like I'll associate like when I'm thinking about cisgendered men, I'm associating like a deep voice, a certain style of clothing, a strong or built physique, doing manual chores. And then I think that when it comes to masculinity within women, I'm thinking about like mannerisms. I'm like, do you sit, with a wide spread, or do you sit with your legs crossed or your ankles crossed? So like for me, that's the way that I, think of it. And mostly it's because I feel like when we're communicating with others, I want to understand how, like, I think that it's easier to communicate with people when there's like an existing framework that we're all operating with. Not to say that there aren't some problematic ideas around masculinity, but I'll be honest and say that I haven't really like flipped it on its head and been like, completely unpacking it and reinforcing a new definition to people when I engage with them.
Okay. As I was looking at the question, I was just like, it's funny, you and I was just like, it means nothing to me.
Masculinity means nothing.
And I kept trying to, I was like, do I want to define it? Do I want to define people in said box? And I think a lot of, particularly we talk about doing now 10 seasons of this show, like a lot of what I've tried to do and reinforce is like, there are no rules. And as I was trying to like write down a definition, I just felt myself writing rules that I no longer necessarily believe, or rules that I feel like are just told to us as far as like what men should be, what women should be, what queer folks should be, what straight folks should be. And it just didn't feel honest. Like if we talk about, like if our theme is about growth, and like I understand your point of view, I understand how people communicate, but like it didn't feel honest to write down that kind of antiquated thing around like how we define people. And for me, it just became just something to kind of be rebellious against. The idea that I have to say that people are this thing or they are not.
Yeah, I took the context of the question and like thought about it from a lens of not necessarily physical attributes, but more so I was thinking about safety. And when I think about masculinity, it usually for me is associated with safety and someone who not only is there as a protector, but also creating safe spaces and safe environments for you. And with that safety and being a protector, I'm thinking about strength as well. But when I think about strength, it's not just physical strength. I think there's strength in not being afraid to show the soft sides and the soft parts of you, and the strength and vulnerability. And to me, that is, I feel protected when someone's vulnerable with me and can show that. It makes me feel closer to them, makes me feel safe. So that's where my head went for this question. How about you, Lena?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a really interesting relationship with the word because of my appearance, the physical attributes, I'm categorized as a mask presenting lesbian, which is a specific category, because for a few different reasons, in that when I walk out into the world, because of my appearance, people can assume what my sexuality is. So therefore, versus if I were femme, the assumption is that maybe I'm heterosexual, or I'm, I don't know, maybe bi, questioning, but you take a look at me, you're like, chances are she's not into guys, and because I always had a deeper voice, always, ever since a kid, and I've been what some would call a tomboy since a kid, wearing quote unquote boys' clothes, which includes what? Shorts, t-shirts, baggy jeans. Yes, in high school I'm wearing baggy jeans. I mean, it was like, the Thanksgiving episode kind of pays, tribute to that time in my life when I'm looking like Debrat and like, you know what I'm saying? And I just, people sort of said, oh, and even like look watching Crooklyn, like Troy the Boy, be like sort of understanding that as a young girl, I leaned more toward something that wasn't feminine by society standards. And therefore I got put into, oh, you're a tomboy.
Yeah.
You're a stud. You're mask presenting. And I don't take offense to those
Right,
definitions.
I was going to say, as if that's a bad thing, right?
You know, I don't. But at the same time, if we're going to look closer at it, what about me playing football outside in the street with the boys in the neighborhood, or wearing baggy clothes in high school, or getting braids like to the back, you know what I'm saying, when I was like, in high school as well. Why is that masculine?
Mm-hmm.
What about that is masculine?
And who said so?
Correct. Mm-hmm. So, though I have no issue with being called a stud, a mask, somewhat mask of center, soft stud, whatever, you know, a Cleo, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But I would just ask people to ask themselves, who told us what masculine and feminine was, and why did they tell us that?
Yeah.
What do they have to gain from it? And what do we have to lose from sort of abiding by these definitions? Are the definitions getting us further along and closer, or are the definitions dividing us and sort of taking us back to where we don't want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that initially masculinity and femininity was probably created to help people make sense of the world around them, right? Like that's what words help us do. And
women are from Mars, men are from Venus.
Yeah, and
the
just
battle of the
also,
sexes,
like,
war of the roses.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, if the man is going out and, you know, finding the food and bringing it back, you know what I mean? Like they're the protector, right? They're physically a little bit more strong than maybe the woman that's in the relationship. And so I think that you mentioned something about like, I don't feel bad about it. And I feel like that's where the growth comes in with regards to masculinity and femininity for me. Whereas like growing up, I was like celebrating masculinity because like that's how boys get rewarded, by being athletic and by being, you know, somebody like a magnet for women, and by like being strong. But now it's like I can use the word and not think it's like a badge of honor. It's just something that helps me make sense of like what I'm seeing right now, and helps me communicate to a person in front of me what I'm trying to talk about. And so I just kind of look at it like words now, as opposed to being like femininity bad, masculinity good. It's like whatever you are is what you are, and I may attach a word to it so that when we're communicating, you know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
And that's how I think about it.
I think it's important that people examine their relationship with words like masculinity and femininity, and have an understanding for themselves of what their relationship is to the word, right?
Yeah.
And then based on that, also interrogate why they think that about said word.
I also wonder why so much of our communication is based on having to define somebody by like a rule, or like this. Like even just like I want to make sense of the world, so therefore I must define something as masculine just to communicate, when it's just like, I don't know, why can't things be a bit more free? Like why are we always searching for the rules to make sense of the person? Because then if I define the person, I can define the person in relation to me and how they should be, and how I interact with masculine people, how I interact with feminine people, how I interact excuse me, with someone who maybe does or doesn't fit, or like how I maybe just completely reject people, like not saying you, but reject people like that from my life because they don't fit into that, and I don't know what to do with someone that's like non-binary or something. And I think sometimes when, like, I don't know, we're in this really interesting place in the world where part of the world is like trying to make sure that people understand and respect the individually defined words that any person chooses to use for themselves. And then the other part of it is just like, but I also want you to really just look at me as a human. And like, that's a really interesting dance to do. Where like, we need you to understand that trans people, not binary people, this people, they really exist. But then also, I'm really just a person at the same time. And like, that's a weird, not a weird, but an interesting, I would say, maybe place to be in.
Well, I think that's the call to action for people, is to lean into viewing people as people.
Just
First.
living, breathing beings.
We might be all, navigating things differently.
Or we just need more adjectives. That's the path that we're going down, it seems. It's like masculinity is femininity, but then it's now these new 6 adjectives.
I could do,
and
but
it's
then
more
like,
expensive.
I just think that like, less. I don't know more adjectives.
I don't think we're going less. I think we're going
less.
It's never going to be less.
If the acronym gets any longer, I'm leaving the community.
You don't want to sleep on that
You gonna
one.
turn straight if there's more adjectives? That's what you just said.
Well, let's get into this conversation around backlash and criticism, because we all have our own platforms and people who follow our journeys.
I'm gonna get backlash for saying that.
Well, listen,
I don't care.
And but it might make you think a little deeper. So that's the question: is backlash? Backlash on its face is typically looked at through the lens of something as being a bad thing, but is that always true?
I'll start. Well, I would say no. I think that one, some of you niggas need to be checked. And when I mean that, I just mean it in the sense that we should live in a world where you don't just do and say whatever you want to just because you can. Like and that goes for like fallacies or truth. Just because something's true don't mean you need to run it out of your fucking mouth.
I believe that.
And I don't know what it, like, I just wasn't raised that way. I feel like, I don't know, maybe someone from Chicago, I'm just like, don't running up on me like some crazy person saying anything you want to say out your mouth.
Chicago.
Right. So, yes, I believe in checking people. But I also, and back to the theme of our season, I believe in growth. And I think that anyone that wants to exist just in an echo chamber of, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm always right, that's not a very helpful way to live. Like, you're not growing, you're not learning, you're not experiencing new shit. Right. So I think part of, I guess it makes it hard in the world where sometimes you're getting backlash from like people you don't know at all. And it's just like, you don't know me. Listen, but like, there are helpful things that come your way from people you may not know at all. There are more helpful things, in my opinion, that come from people that know you well. It can be, sometimes you niggas need to get checked. That's all I got to say.
I mean, that's true. I kind of can endorse and get behind what you're saying, because I think that there is a place for criticism, and when it's backlash, it's like, what are you lashing back at? I made you think. It was provocative. Yeah. And so maybe you saw something that, challenged your train of thought. And let's have a conversation about that. And I'm open to conversation. Yeah. I'm open to being in conversation with folks when they disagree about something, my viewpoint, or something I did, or whatever the case may be, a piece of work that I put out.
I also think sometimes people too damn soft. You want to run your mouth. Sometimes people going to have something to say about it, and be ready for that. Like, if you're going to say something, say it with your chest. And sometimes it's going to go and sometimes it's not. And say it to my motherfucking face.
Well, I'm gonna take the conversation in a slightly different perspective. So I'll speak on behalf of the people who do think that backlash is a bad thing, because I was one of those people. I speak into the inner people pleaser in me. I also work in marketing, where my whole job is trying to project a positive reaction to a message. And so I think that even doing this podcast, like, I would catch myself like not really saying what my point of view was, because I felt like, people wouldn't like it. Or just kind of like, I don't know, taking side paths to like try to avoid making other people uncomfortable around me. And Tony and Damon know this. I'm like, my world has flipped upside down in the last like month, and I'm like, in a good way. In a good way. And I'm on this like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and continuously like silence myself because I'm concerned that somebody's not going to agree with what I have to say. And so I think backlash, no, it's not a bad thing. I think oftentimes backlash can just be a result of your opinion not being popular. And I think that your opinion doesn't have to be popular. Your opinion should be rooted in your values. It should be what you actually feel like is real and true to you. And I think as long as you're being responsible, meaning like you're not coming from a hate-filled like place, your truth is, you know, what you should be focused on, and that's what's going to make you feel the best at the end of the day. And so if I upset a stranger on the internet, like, I'm trying to get over the idea of trying to control everyone liking me or everyone having something positive to say about me. So I'm in this chapter in my life where I'm kind of embracing backlash.
Well, yeah, everybody has a breaking point.
It. Yeah.
Everyone has a breaking point, and when you can get to the level of unbotheredness that some of us have reached, baby girl,
I'm on my way.
Let me tell you,
I'm on my way.
Freedom. So freedom.
And I'm going up beyond her.
Lena? What is your thoughts on this backlash, criticism, conversation? Is it always a bad thing?
It's interesting because I think of it as backlash about an opinion or a particular person or a thing isn't really a reflection on the person or the thing or the opinion. It really isn't about whatever the thing is that the people, society, if it's a large group of people, are lashing out against. It's actually more a reflection of where society is, or sort of what people are being told is right or wrong. So I think you can't take anything personally. Nothing's about you, which is a very interesting thing to say. But the truth is, how someone treats you, how someone speaks to you, how someone chooses to react to you is a direct reflection of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's really how I look at it. It's more, it's just sort of, okay, sort of if I say, I like the color blue, and someone says, I don't agree with that. What I would say is,
So
why?
now what?
No, the question is, why? Why do you not agree with that? And that person may say, because I prefer the color red, or because I got into a really bad car accident when I was a kid and the color of the car was blue. Oh, okay. I get that. All right. And that is really how I look at it. It's sort of like if someone has an issue with something, you know, why is that? And then whatever their answer is correct.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, I guess, my observation at 40. Yeah, that's sort of my observation.
No, but I love what you just said, because I've been trying to take on a similar philosophy where discourse being a opportunity for discovery. So like,
and discussion.
Really, right. Like in being like, you know what? I disagree with that, and I actually want to understand your point of view. Like, and even though like I could feel triggered right now and I could feel upset, I'm just going to like power through it so that we can at least just understand where each other is coming from. Yeah, I find like a lot of people stop in their tracks as soon as someone disagrees with them. But taking it that extra step and just trying to figure out the why, I think is going to always help, because then people soften up a little bit. People are a little bit more disarmed. People are a little bit more, oh, like you actually care about my experience.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you.
Yeah. And also to remind them to say, you know, it's okay if you don't like the color blue. And if you tell someone that it's okay, it does something to them of like, okay.
You ain't gonna fight back?
Like, okay. Yeah, because
no, girl.
and there are people that don't know who they are if they are not fighting. So if they're looking for a fight, it's up to you if you want to give them that so they can know, they can feel familiar. and be in that and not maybe focus on other things that maybe they need to be focused on. But they'd rather be in conflict with you as a distraction, maybe. But if you say, I have no desire to be in conflict, I would rather be in conversation, which one would you like to engage in?
Right.
And they can say, I want to be in conflict. And you get to say, I do not. So
and that
you're right. You have that, and go be in conflict with someone who also wants to engage in
that. That grinds people's gears.
You're right and I'm wrong.
You're right and I'm wrong.
It's funny, like it reminded me of a conversation I have with my husband. Like when we first met, I had not as recently, but like come out of a relationship that was like violent, abusive for an extended period of time.
I'm sorry.
So like, thank you. I've healed. We're good. Even I and that person we're good as well. So like I can talk about it and it's not like a crazy thing for me anymore. But when we first met, he was just like, every disagreement with you is like, for you, it's like World War III. And for me, it's because I was living in the space for so long where like the communication was violence, combative, evil. Like, and it was just, that is how, like, it just became the norm. So I think even for people that have experienced things in life where you're just like, do you just want to fight? It's just like, not necessarily, but this is just how I've had to communicate and how I've learned to communicate and how I've learned in some way to protect the little bits of me that are left in here, all broken up for this time. And then when you walk into a new thing, you still walk into it as that person. Like, yeah, parts of it are like you do your own healing, but like there are parts of things that trigger you or so on and so forth. And like that has been a huge learning experience. And like he will always just be like, I'm not here to fight you. Like, I'm not here to be your adversary. Which is like, even if we disagree, like we're trying to get to something where there is peace and love on the other side, and peace and love even in this moment where we disagree. So like I would say even just like those folks that sometimes you're just like, why does this nigga always want to fucking fight? Like it sometimes
it's the only way I know how to communicate.
It's grounded in certain other experiences for a lot of times. Sometimes niggas just be tripping. But
sometimes you gotta look at your partner and say, I'm not your enemy.
Absolutely.
I'm your
absolutely
ally. I'm your partner.
Well, I want to get into a conversation about community, and to start this conversation, I wanted to just read a little something because so I did this thing for my birthday a few years back where I had an intimate birthday party and I gave out mason jars, and I challenged people to do what I called my happy place jar, but you're supposed to like write something every week that made you smile or that was positive, and you put it in the jar, and then at the end of the year you take them out, you go through them all. And so when we got notice that Big Sis wanted to come and sit down with the girls, I went back to, but actually it was serendipitous because this was like randomly pulled out of the jar. And it was this note from February 12th, 2022, week 6. This has been an extraordinary week. Lena fucking Waithe reposted surface level content and we had a whole exchange in the DMs. She loves the show and hinted at coming on as a guest. I'm manifesting that we'll work with Lena for season 5. What a beautiful spirit. Good things are on the horizon. And we're not in season 5. But we are in season 10.
Come on.
So look at God.
That's not random.
I'm big on writing things down, and even Damon got me
Tony to write things.
He got me a journal.
I'm huge on writing it down.
And
that's an Oprah thing.
Write it down. Because manifestation is real. And
yes, it is.
Yeah. So this is a 2-year journey in the making. But on that topic, though, you created such an incredible community, both on screen and behind the scenes. And so how do you and how do we balance doing the quiet work of building communities behind the scenes as being people who have platforms and are in the public, in the public eye?
How do you balance it?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you are stealth in your ways, and you really have you've really built. I feel like I've run into other folks where
we have people on the show that be like, Lena, hold it down. Like,
like people talk about you in a really positive way, and I think you've been intentional about the relationships that you built doing the quiet work behind the scenes when no one's watching. Everyone always wants to throw backlash and criticism, but they don't know what people are doing behind the scenes that is like, you would never know. And you don't deserve to know because you got to earn it.
Well, yeah, I think I'm a believer that, it's about doing good when no one's looking. Mm-hmm. It's about really always being intentional about the connections and really curating community, people that prefer conversation over conflict, and I think, again, that's why I say backlash really doesn't have anything to do with the person. And I think you actively can see that.
Yeah.
Because then you start to wonder, well, why do we want to have backlash toward a person who shouldn't exist in society? Because we just talked about masculinity and femininity. And for a woman to exist in the world in the way that I do, it kind of sort of like is flicking society on its forehead. For me to be, exactly. So that does what? If I flick you on the forehead, you go, whoa. I'm gonna hit you back. I'm gonna push you.
Yeah.
So again, but and they're being taught like, yeah, that's not how it's supposed to go. And oftentimes it may be people that look like you, and society is saying, this person isn't supposed to be here. Someone that looks like you isn't supposed to be here.
Right.
You're right. It's not their fault. It's like there's I don't know what it is, but you're told this isn't the way it's supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Kind of goes back to caste and things such as that. So so to me it's not just one thing at play.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on. So for me, I think as an artist, and I literally have to look at human behavior and reflect it back to us. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I see people have conversations and dialogue about, take the shy, for example. I'm learning so much about us by hearing, feedback. I mean, I see sometimes people are tougher on the women characters. I see that. They're more empathetic when the guys do, like, Emmett washed the dishes. Tiff had an attitude again. I can't. It's like, well, yeah, because he cheated on her with the. Look, Emmett's doing the best he can. I'm like, I'm learning so much, and it's fine. It's just like I see the conversation, but it's like we can clearly see, wow, society staring back at us, not the people that it's like who has indoctrinated us with like this idea of men first, women second, like capitalist society, like this is how it's going. Right. Like you should have like straights first, gays second. It's like what? It's like who told us? Why am I a second class citizen? Because what? Like I don't. It's that, and that's sort of you can't. And that's really kind of what I sort of do is sort of think about that kind of stuff, and then put it into the work, and so people can look at it and go, oh yeah, that is kind of. Why do we do that? Mm-hmm. And sometimes some people embrace that and go, I never thought of it in that way. And some people may say, this is not hitting me right now in the way I need to be hit, and I'm not happy about this. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna let you know that. You know what I mean? But again, nothing to do with me, nothing to do with the work, but more about, where everybody's at. Because if somebody asks, the question we always get as artists, what do you want people to take away from the work? And I always say, they will take away whatever they bring to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just on one topic of the behind the scenes work, because I'm also thinking about that quiet work and having a level of discernment with the people you engage with is important. And like being able to decipher who's actually trying to have conversations and
who's trying to be in conflict. Yeah.
And who's trying to be in conflict, or who's just trying to be known. And, you know.
You get more attention for conflict than you do conversation. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think I kept coming back to not operating from this place of lack. And thinking about how we've worked with our platform and peers that we know that do this, or people we admire that also do this. I think coming into this the whole time, we've never felt like it should only be us.
Yeah.
And I think that behind the scenes, like either people we've met through social media or just like in life generally, it's been fascinating to grow with people doing like or similar things and not feeling some level of jealousy because this person gets that thing or this person gets that thing. Or like even with the campaign we did for Pride, we all got to come together and do something collectively. Or we went to the Vibe Check show and like they're great. And I think that has been something that's been a through line through our entire journey. I think additionally in conversations we've had now as this thing has started to grow and we have partners that want to do things and we ain't got a lot of money, but like there's some money like that we can like hire people and like hire our peers and have conversations around how we put money back into our community, either be our peers we hire as talent, either be hiring Black and brown queer folks as makeup artists, as photographers, so on and so forth. And like, what does it mean not just to hire those people, but what does it mean to do it in the way that feels best? Like the three of us at least have all worked in corporate. And a lot of growing up in corporate is like, how do you do the most for the least amount of money? And a lot of times in that process, you traipse over people and you traipse over their value. And you just like, if I can get this done a bit cheaper, I can drive the profit. And it's just like, okay, but like, as we do this, how do we operate differently? There've been very interesting conversations that we've had around what does it mean to invest in people? What's people's worth? And how can we do our best to make sure that the people we work with behind the scenes, the front of the scenes, don't feel devalued in the process? Because I think that a lot of times with at least our backgrounds in corporate, like we can devalue folks. But just be like, come here and this is great, like do it because this is XYZ corporation that I work for and it's a good look for you. But it's just like, what does it mean to unless you would say stand on business in the community.
Stand on business.
Like, what does it mean to help somebody put food on their table, or like help them like clothe their kid, or just help them feel fucking great about themselves for the day in community with other people? And like that's just as exciting as being able to sit here and do this and be under lights and blah blah blah. And like to me, that is a lot of the work of the shit that only the three of us conversations that we have privately that people would never know about, and we still wouldn't divulge on what those details are because that's not their fucking business. But
but I'm curious about like, has there been a moment that has being more social facing, has there been anything that's made you switch up how you moved on social media because like, oh, it's giving this thing happened and it's like, bitch, never again. This will never be going on, but you can only learn that through having the experience of being someone who's starting to just be a little bit more out there and more known, and then having people be able to comment whatever comes out of their fucking mouth.
I mean, but that's a reflection of society as well. You know what I mean? Again, it's like if you really look at everything from bird's eye view, like really zoom out rather than zooming into a comment, but zoom out and see, okay, like 60% of the folks think this is fun. Like this people think it's like not. Okay, well, I mean, I got the majority. But there's a group that kind of feel like, just so it's also you're being educated about something. So sometimes, like, you know, if you do have 10 people like watch this episode, and like, you know, 5 of them like it, 5 of them don't. So that's the sort of like something that tells you like, all right, this will maybe be a polarizing episode. Some people may like it, some people may not. It's like it's really everything can be educational, you know, and. It rather than you getting frustrated, it's more about, okay, folks seem not to be, liking this post. They are not happy about this, or they like, people are not cool with this person. And it's like, all right. And then whatever the thing is, it's like, then you get to go even deeper. Like, why are folks so mad at this person? Like, what is it about this person that just irks people?
Yeah.
Like, why can't they seem to get it right? Like, is it them? Is it him? What's going on? And then you get and that conversation is interesting, because then also what'll happen inevitably 10 years later, that person's on top. They're killing it. Everybody loves them.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, it's because we're in this time in our society, or this is like, a thing I always use, for example, is like, Shirley Temple became a big movie star because it was like around the time of, like, during the Great Depression. So people needed hope, and like this little girl was like, oh, like the future, hope, happiness, like good ship lollipop. And that, not to take away from her talent or her being this precocious little kid, but society at the time needed to look at a little girl like singing songs, whatever, you know what I mean? And like that, again, it's always educational. It's about what's happening at that time that can tell you something about why society was reacting to things the way in which they did at that time.
Well, speaking of society reacting to things at a specific time and place, you're someone who's looked at as a voice who represents both the Black community and queer community, right? And with The Chi specifically on season 6, you had, for the first time, I believe, 2 principal characters who were Black and queer and masculine presenting. And so I know that was, you're like, what's the core audience going to think? What are people in general going to think, regardless of how they identify? How do you kind of spoke to this a bit, but like on that specifically, I'm curious to know, with the noise around that, what it made you feel. And
was there noise around? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
What did it give?
Did y'all see it?
I did.
Mm-hmm. All 3 of you saw did y'all see it?
I didn't see it.
And y'all 2 saw it?
Yeah.
Yes.
What'd y'all think?
I thought it was dropped in like matter-of-factly. These are 2 Black queer men who are in a relationship, and this is normal. It wasn't like a clutch or pearl situation. It was just like, this is real life.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's represented so it's not represented a lot in this way. And I'm glad you did do it, because people needed to see that. And the folks who may have the backlash or the criticism or have something, I feel like those are the people that need to see them the most. Because
Now, I would say something similar, and then I would also bring up the relationship between Luke James's character and having a trans woman on screen in the context of this, just like Black Chicago, and let's like take it, zoom out even from the show, like how Luke James talks about playing that character in interviews and in life with this level of normality. And I think that's something that is really interesting, because sometimes people feel like, oh my God, am I so brave, daring?
That part.
And I've said this a million times, but I think that the work of, standing up for underserved communities comes from people that aren't in that community doing it. It does, not more, but it does a lot for the work of seeing Black trans women, Black trans actresses, as human, as whole, when people that are not in that community are standing up or just talking about with a level of normality of people, going back to maybe our original question, people just existing.
Yeah.
And not getting down to like having to define the person, the thing as something that is wholly unique. Is actually, no, just that person over there having an experience, or those folks over there having an experience. And I liked that kind of lens on it.
Yeah, what I really enjoy too is that behind the scenes, the 2 characters, DeAndre and Quincy, are, I won't say based on, but they take the name of 2 people that actually work on the show, which is also fantastic, because there's 2 people behind the scenes that are helping to produce this story and put this story out there in a way that's authentic. That's so important, and a lot of people don't know that. And so thank you for doing the work.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad y'all got to see it. And I think, one, it was time, I feel, and two, I think The Chi we sit in a really special place in that a lot of different folks from different walks of life watch the show. And even though there's a particular pop star that's watching the show, apparently we're very excited to hear about.
Speaking of which.
Very grateful for that. But, we really want to speak to, I always said I wanted to show Black folks in living rooms, existing and being and doing the things that we do while folks in their living rooms are watching. So we're a reflection of each other. In the first couple of seasons, I had two different showrunners who were sort of a little bit more, I think, traditional and old school. And so a lot of people always talk about how I really like the first two seasons, and then it kind of gets a little bit more, it's funny. I think the word they're looking for is inclusive. And a little bit more current. And so and we also kind of removed sort of cop storylines and stuff like that, and just got more into the human stories, which is what I always wanted to do. And shout out to David Nevins, who said when you create a show, you don't always get what you want in the first season, but maybe a little bit more in the second, and then you'll get more what you want in the third, and so on and so on.
Well, how about 6 seasons in and 7's on the way?
7's on the way. We're filming now, almost done. Stay tuned. But that's sort of what happens, is that the show evolves every season, and I think there's opportunities for us to introduce new characters, and that was something I really wanted to explore, and also want to make sure those, just for me, there's no judgment if you're not a queer person playing a queer character, but we really wanted to make sure those two particular gentlemen playing Quincy and DeAndre, are queer Black men. That was important, and that's how they walk through the world, and when they stepped into those characters' shoes, it was a really, I think, it sort of, to me, took the Chi to a new place, in that because even, obviously having, trans women on the show as well, and like that also puts us in a place of, in 10, 20 years, when people look back at the show, people will say, oh, they were doing the work that they should have been doing.
Right. Because,
again, I think our world will look very different in 20 years when these babies have grown up. And I don't want anyone to be missing from the show when people look back at it.
Yeah.
I think that, because we've been in conversations too where people brought up the Chi, and I think that oftentimes when people look at media, they're laser focused on finding a situation that reflects their exact experience, and it puts an unrealistic expectation on creators and artists and creatives to bring something to them. You know what I mean? And I think that the feedback that we heard was that, what about all the crime that's on the Chi, and look how it's representing Black people. And I'm like, you do understand that somebody does have that experience. And although that may not be your experience, or you may not feel like it's aspirational for what you feel like the experience should be on TV, it is based in reality. It is rooted in reality. And I think that just hearing you talk about how you make a point to hear people's feedback, but then also that doesn't cloud your creative process in terms of trying to create something that's very specific, I think is inspirational for anybody who's trying to create art. Because I think that we're constantly trying to figure out the balance between how do I make something that everybody's going to love, and how do I create something that I feel like actually has real meaning to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I worry for artists that want to create something that everybody's going to love. I don't know if that's the goal.
What's funny?
But I can't remember. Truly, because it's if that's their, then I don't. The mission is to make work that scares you. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I can't remember if it was this episode from the first season, but one of the last questions in one of the episodes from the first season was do you find that what do you think the role of an artist is, or does it? And I think I said to reflect truth. Like we were answering some question around.
It was this episode.
It was this episode.
About last scene and last season and like cancel culture and what they're
we were just like, if something is controversial, like should an artist still do that, or if it's going to piss people off? It was something to that effect. And like I still stand 10 toes down on that answer. Like I feel like art is supposed to reflect truth.
Yeah.
And so and I think art is best when it reflects truth. And yeah, sometimes people may hate your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the truth is, I mean,
that's
it's like, it's also because everybody has a truth. You know? But the truth is, it's interesting because it's again, that's why backlash is sort of like more of a reflection of a person. Like, so you want to ask a person, like, what dialogue are we having? Because always say, oh, there's a lot of crime on the Shy. Well, there's crime in the Shy, but there's also like a men's circle on the Shy. You know, these men getting together and just talking about their feelings.
Right.
So there's also, you know, there's also
they be talking about it in the barbershop,
you know,
in Black communities, and you know, I feel like for men like that who are maybe heterosexual men in barbershops having those conversations, and when these storylines come up and they're talking real talk in barbershops, like I feel like that's to be a fly on those walls. I don't go to a Black barbershop currently.
That was just
first of all,
you went to the barbershop?
Oh, right.
The Dominican.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Dominican barbershop, and I love them.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, but if someone wants to feel like, if they want a show about Chicago that doesn't involve crime, you know, that's fair.
Yeah,
you know.
But is it also like, okay, you want that, do it.
But also Southside was a show set in Chicago that was
nobody watched it.
That's shade.
No. I don't mean it wasn't
guys,
good.
Diablo.
I mean that
don't come over here like
got canceled because people didn't like. People always yell that they want a thing,
but
then when the thing exists,
don't
watch and support the thing, and then cry about the thing when it's over.
Yeah.
Well, like I say that often about people. Like, I want this. It is so easy to find so many variations of the thing that you say that you want and the thing that you say that you're searching for. People just are lazy and they want the thing that's like has the huge marketing budget that's like super easy to find, or spend 10 minutes and say like, hey, what are all the shows if it's that specific? Like, what are all the shows about Chicago?
Yeah.
You can do that and you can learn and you can find more things.
I mean, the truth is I oftentimes watch things based on friend recommendations. So a friend of mine, Blakely, I don't know if some of y'all follow him on, I'll make sure I get y'all his IG. He was like, you should check out English Teacher. He posted in his stories, not just to me, but to him. I went and watched the first 2 episodes, thoroughly enjoyed it. Nice. I would totally recommend people to check it out. Also Queenie on Hulu, which is really great. There's and also I'm going to check out How to Die Alone. It's on Hulu now. I'm excited about that. Natasha's new show. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's out, that's on. And I just think folks gotta, because I think sometimes it's interesting to talk about backlash. As Baldwin said, love was never a popular movement. So if you tend to tweet or talk about what you don't like, or what you're mad about, like I always encourage people to say that's fair, but also if there's something you're not feeling, go at it, have at it. But then I also ask, tell us what you are liking. What show, what movie do you enjoy? So if there's something you think we shouldn't watch, fair, I take that. What should I be watching in your opinion? Throw me one that you think is good. And I think if we can have that balance, I think artists will kind of like, all right, like, you don't like my thing, cool. What are you watching? You don't have to like mine, But yeah, I think you can't go into something, because I think if you're trying to get something that everybody likes, and it's less about the work and more about needing a validation. So I think for me, backlash, or rather society sort of showing up or showing us like where we are as a reflection of the work at the time is really a dance that I'm doing with audience. So I think we are in dialogue with each other, the work and all that stuff, like being dialogue, because even you look at something like Love and Basketball, I got a chance to sit down with Gina Prince Bythewood, and that movie is in the Library of Congress. right? But it's still being discussed by a new generation who looks at those characters and saying, I don't know, I wouldn't do that if I was her, or Q shouldn't be that way, or whatever. It's saying, someone could argue it's a criticism or them sort of talking about the movie in a negative way, but rather they are continuing and adding to its legacy because the conversation continues, and it's in Library of Congress anyway.
Right.
So may we keep it alive and well, because when you stop talking about something, it dies.
Exactly. Well, I'm thinking about how much fun it must be to be able to have do that song and dance in real time with
absolutely.
The Chi.
Yeah.
That's got to be so much fun for you.
It is fun. It's super educational too. And there are times I kind of, you learn things about where we are, still.
Yeah.
It can be eye-opening.
And it's tough because I can't change it by myself. I can't change it tomorrow. I can't, make us see each other better.
Right.
I have a laptop, I have a computer, I have this cast, I have this opportunity, and I just want us, the Chi is asking us to really, to see each other as each other. We have so much more in common than we would like to admit. So that's really, and also as a writer, the first rule of thumb is that we are not allowed to judge. The minute you judge a character, they become two-dimensional.
What do you mean by that?
I can't judge a character for doing anything that they do. So last night I went to a screening of Monsters, the Menendez story. I got to watch Ryan Murphy conduct his own panel with Chloe Sevigny, Javier Bardem, and Nathan Lane was on the, and we got to watch the first episode. It comes out in a week or so. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I guess I'm a part of the Netflix family, but y'all thought, Dahmer was rough. This one is intense to say the least. And we all know why. It is not an easy watch. But just the word monsters, you have these two sons and you have these two parents.
Yeah.
And I think over the course of the series, you're going to wonder who the monsters really are, and how we find out that they are not born but rather made.
Right.
And so that's what Ryan loved. With the O.J. Simpson story to the Menendez brothers to Dahmer, he lives in those spaces. I remember watching Nip Tuck as one young coming up, just be this is dark. American Horror Story. Obviously, he's so in this. He's living, and he's there's no light that comes into his he's just in there him and the staff for Interview with the Vampire. They're in it. Shy, we over here so Keisha and Emmett are debating: do we get a nanny or can we afford it? Where are we at? Is Smokey's doing that. So we're a little bit more somebody may get shot now on the shot for disrespecting somebody, but over there it's he plays in those dark spaces. He's not afraid to go to those dark corners, and America goes there with him. The numbers say something. That Dahmer is one of the most watched things on Netflix. Baby Reindeer was doing really well. That tells me something about where we are as a society.
Yeah.
What we want to sit and spend hours with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, meaning we aren't afraid of those dark spaces either.
Right.
We kind of living in those spaces, maybe a little bit from arm's length, but we're not afraid of it. And I think it's about how do we kind of go into those dark spaces and flick the light on and really see what's going on here, what's happening, why, how do we get here? How does a person become this? And then we're starting to talk about trauma, childhood, traumas or things that people experience that lead them to become the people that they are. And that's really where, with writers, we have to think of every character once as a 3-year-old.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, that's why I said that's how Duda can exist. And that I love him, I hate him, I don't know what to do. So she's I want to fuck him, but kill a girl, what the, And it's exactly, because in life there are no villains and there are no heroes. We're just all people who have choices to make every day.
Well, speaking of doing different things, because you talked about that a little bit with Ryan, and he sometimes goes to the dark sidedness of it all, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's light in the dark. I don't know. Curious to know what areas for you are you next focused on? What's on the horizon for Lena? What do you want to get into that you haven't? Tell us.
I mean, like, is this? Look, I mean, I guess it's kind of exclusive. I haven't talked about it too much. Look, he's over here directing while he's like getting it going. He's like, hold on, yeah, get that. Theater is on the horizon.
Good.
Next, I'm writing a play right now, and I think it's a space, because obviously I've spent a lot of time in television. I'm a television writer through and through. Will always be a television writer, I think, in my heart. Obviously, I venture into film. I love producing film. I love writing movies as well. But theater is a place that when I'm sitting in the audience, I feel more alive than I do, doing most things. And that's me just experiencing it, me being an audience member. I got a chance to go to the Tonys this year, which was amazing and fantastic. And I had gotten to see all the musicals except one, Water for Elephants. I'm so sorry. But I'm that kind of, I'm going to Baltimore to see Jordan Cooper's next play. He and I got, we were Tony nominated together for Ain't No Mo. He's my little brother. And so we're going to go to Baltimore and we're going to see his new play, Oh Happy Day. I'm excited. And so I'm excited to get in the ring and to really stretch myself and to be in the room. A lot of times people are watching things I'm in or I've written from a place and I'm not there. I can't have that experience with you, know. And with theater, I can be in the space and we can experience it together. And it's the one place where I don't have to fight with your phone.
True.
The Shy, I'm fighting for your attention.
Yeah.
Your phone is in hand and we're making things happen to the point where you're like, hold on, let me rewind that. Hold on, wait, hold on. Who? What? What did he just say? Hold on. So we really are fighting for your attention. But when you're in the theater, there's no fight. You got to turn it off. Lights dim.
Right.
And it's us. And when you leave, you can go online and talk like, man, this thing and I didn't like that. I'm like, well, where can I watch it? What? No, it's that. It's all. You got to go to the theater. You got to go buy a ticket and go see it to engage in this conversation. And I think that to me is also exciting. And also I want it to be theater. I don't always necessarily associate with Broadway. So what I'm thinking about doing will be probably off Broadway and maybe local somewhere. And I want it to be accessible and affordable. And I want folks to, maybe make a trip out and come, maybe down to Baltimore. And there's a playhouse out there. And we're going to go over there and start workshopping and writing a little about love and the nuances of it. About being in love and falling in love and all those things, and not just only from my own experiences, but from being in conversation with a lot of people about love, and people I think have been kind enough to allow me to be inspired by the many different love stories and situations they find themselves in, and these what ifs we kind of talk about love that we never even get to experience, and see what that may look like on a stage rather than screen. So that's sort of what's on the horizon.
Well, we look forward to interacting with all of the great work and having debate and discussion around it. And we thank you so much, Big Sis, for showing up for us.
Our little bros.
This means a lot to us. You have no idea. We're going to kiki and cackle about this. And we're just super excited that you're here with us in the flesh.
Thank y'all for having me.
On that note, that's all the time we have this week. If you've enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going. Let us know your thoughts and questions at surfacelevelpodcast.com. And remember, stay curious.